tunatumia mazingira yetu vibaya. Tumekata miti ili tuchome makaa.
Miti ilikuwa hapa, hao wametupa miti karibu 20,000.
Tulijaribu kuwaita tukawaambia umuhimu wa kuhifadhi misitu, lakini sasa ufisadi nao hauishi.
Mwanadamu naye amejifanya tena mdudu mwingine mbaya ambaye anakatakata miti.
Huku msituni kulikuwa na manguruwe. Manguruwe makubwa sana kama ng'ombe. Sasa hivi hata mmoja ukienda huioni.
Watu walivyoenda kuendelea kukata miti, kulianza kupungua mvua na hizo springs zikaanza kukauka na zingine zikakauka kabisa.
They walk very long distances. Some of them actually move about 5 kilometers to get to where the water is.
It is now planting season in Kawingwoni, Kitui County, and Mama Scholar Kamene is busy tending to her field in preparation for the onset of the rainy season. However, despite her efforts and investment, she can only hope that the rains come on schedule this time round.
Hii shamba ni yangu na nimeilima mwaka 15. Lakini kuanza vile nimeanza kulima, mavuno yamekuja yakabadilika.
It has been difficult to predict the rainfall pattern of late.
Mvua inakuja inanyesha mingi, saa ingine inanyesha ndogo. Wakati inakuja kunyesha, saa ingine inanyesha mara moja na inaenda.
This erratic rainfall pattern has disrupted farming seasons, exposing many families to food insecurity.
Mvua saa ingine inakuja mingi, saa ingine hata nikilima na mnangani sifuni vile nilikuwa nafuna. Mimi nilikuwa nafuna 15 bags ya maragwe na 30 ya mahindi, lakini saa hii nafuna kama 35 ya mahindi na kidogo ya maragwe na kidogo mahindi.
Slightly over 300 kilometers away in Taita County, Bwana Crispin Kiriga tends to his tree nursery as he reminisces about the diminishing forest cover of his ancestral land.
Kulikuwa na miti mingi sana ya kiasili, lakini zidi watu walivyoenda kuendelea kukata miti, kulianza kupungua mvua.
Many natural springs that used to flow on these lands have all but disappeared. The large river basins are reminders of a much wetter past.
Mvua zilikuwa zinanyesha hapa Taita Hills sana. Tena zile mvua kubwa sio hizi. Hata zinatengeneza magali, erosion makubwa. Lakini sasa hii tunaoendelea kuona mvua imeendelea kuja, hata saa nyingine haikuji kabisa kwa hiyo msimu.
This scenario is replicated in many parts of Kenya, where farmers have had to contend with effects of a changing climate, which is having adverse effects on people's food security and livelihoods.
Tulipopoteza hizi hadhi za msitu zetu, ama tulipokata watu walipokata miti sana, mvua imepungua, wakulima hawawezi predict wanaweza panda chakula wakati gani ili wakuwe successful. Kwa hivyo kumekuwa na uhaba wa chakula.
The extent of the damage is staggering and widespread. Yields from farmlands have plummeted more than 40% in some cases, while many animal and plant species have either vanished or are at risk of disappearing totally from local ecological systems.
There were specific birds in this area. When they fly, farmers can automatically say that now we are expecting the rain is near, let us go and prepare our fields. Those birds are no longer there. And I suspect this could be because of changing in climate.
Climate change adaptation is defined by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change as initiatives and measures designed to reduce the vulnerability of natural and human systems against actual or expected climate change effects.
Climate change adaptation is trying to be able to understand the effects of climate change. Therefore, focusing our actions towards reducing the impacts or preventing those impacts that come about with the effects of climate change.
Pelham Kenya, a regional network facilitating learning, networking and advocacy in East, Central and Southern Africa, has teamed up with its member organization in raising awareness of these changes and build farmer capacity in developing ways of dealing with these changes.
Pelham is a network of NGOs. We are in 10 countries in Africa. We are in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania and Rwanda. We are also in South Africa, Lesotho and Botswana, Malawi, Zambia and Zimbabwe. Our regional office is based in Lusaka, Zambia. Now, Pelham Kenya as a policy, we have been, when the issues about climate change came in, we decided we have to face it. We can't pretend that these things are not there, especially since the members of Pelham work with the small-scale farmers who are negatively impacted by the climate change issues. So one of the things we are doing is to create awareness to the farmers and our members so that they can come up with the strategies on how to cope with the negative impacts of climate change, and especially on how they can be able to manage so that they can be able to cope up with the negative impact of climate change.
There is no doubt that global mean surface temperature has increased since the late 19th century. Each of the past 3 decades has been successively warmer at the Earth's surface than any of the previous decades in the instrumental record, and indeed the decade of the 2000s has been the warmest. Globally, the average combined land and ocean temperature data, as calculated by a linear trend, shows a warming of 0.85 degrees centigrade over the period of 1880 to 2012. Pelham Kenya participated in the 3rd Global Conference on Agriculture, Food Security and Climate Change from 3rd to 5th December 2013. The conference included high-level discussion on climate-smart agriculture, and it provided an opportunity to learn about interventions carried out in other countries. Pelham Kenya also shared best practices in natural resource management, including forestry and fisheries, during the breakaway session on the best practices for improving food production in the era of climate change. Pelham Kenya is actively aligning itself to national plans aimed at implementing National Climate Change Response Strategy under the National Climate Change Action Plan 2013 to 2017. It has subcomponent 3 on adaptation analysis and privatization and subcomponent 7 on knowledge management and capacity development. These actions prioritized agriculture, scaling adaptation actions and increasing tree cover, which Pelham Kenya is focusing on. Pelham Kenya is also a member of the Kenya Climate Change Working Group. In Kenya, almost 7 out of 10 people are directly involved in agriculture as their primary activity. However, the effects of climatic change are making it difficult for people to farm effectively.
Nilipanda kitunguu hapa shambani. Nilipanda melon. Nilipanda sukuma. Bahati mbaya ama mzuri, hakukuwa na mvua mzuri. Mwisho mvua ikija, nikakuta kitunguu zinaanza kukua tayari. Mvua ilinyesha hapa kitu kama 1 month. Hizo kitunguu zote zilizombwa na maji mpaka chini kwa mto.
Farmers are planting expecting that the rain are going to be there. The rain misses to come, so whatever they had planted, it dries up. Then you find that when the rain is too much, whatever they had planted, especially the vegetables and the rest, you find that it overflows and the crops are carried away by the rain. So still the farmers are food insecure.
And there is no doubt who is to blame for this turn of events.
Watu wanakata miti hapa ovyo ovyo, wana ban, charcoal burning wanafanya hapa area yetu. Sasa ndio imefanya mvua ipotee.
Viwanda ambavyo zamani havikuwepo, magari ambayo yanatoa moshi, inakuwa kwamba imeharibu hizo ozone layer, ambao kwamba jua linatuangazia, linapiga sana, linaharibu maji kwenye mito. Sasa naona kwamba vitu kama hivyo ambavyo tumeharibu hali ya anga, nadhani imeaffect hiyo hali ambayo tungekuwa kwamba tuipate sawa sawa.
Smallholder farmers are the most vulnerable to climate change, and they have no alternative but to adapt their livelihood systems to changing climatic conditions. The debate of the impact of climate change on farmer livelihoods is fast shaping up into a race of quantifying the major contributors to global warming. However, the impact of these disturbances on farmer livelihood is very real. More investments and participation from all stakeholders is important in managing the current situation.
How can we now therefore work with the members of the community, and in this case smallholder farmers, to address those risks? So now we have got now aspects of addressing the risks, ranging from adaptation, and that is basically climate smart agriculture, moving into mitigation and going into risk management, and working with policymakers by coming up with data and tools that can help them to know the best practices that can help the farmers to overcome the food insecurity. And so it is a number of things that we do in partnership with all the stakeholders to ensure that we address the problems that are coming about because of climate change and climate variability.
Continual applied research efforts will be useful in assessing the impact of various adaptation and mitigation strategies applied to local contexts. Even so, there are promising indications that the work done by Pelham Kenya member organizations is having impact on safeguarding community livelihoods. This should give impetus to similar efforts that lead to a safe and more sustainable planet.
Indigenous knowledge and also new technologies are very important, but without enhancing the capacities of member organizations and other stakeholders, we may not be able to achieve much. And that is one of the focus areas of Pelham Kenya through its capacity enhancement program, which is a very key program in Pelham Kenya, whereby we enhance the capacity of the member organizations. Secondly, trying to put together all these best lessons and aggregating them together into, for instance, a documentary. We feel that we'll be able to share information to a wider group and also empower others to be able to try and possibly engage with others in this course.
Katika mafunzo ambayo tunapata, wanatupatia mafunzo, alafu tunapatia mpaka hata hizi mboga zingine za kienyeji ambazo tunapata kuwa ni dawa ambayo inaweza tutibu.
Tumeona faida ya mafundisho na tumeyapenda. Manake hii chakula pia tumeona ukila hizi, usikinja haraka, unakula tu kitu kidogo nasikia umekinai.
Sub-Saharan Africa is very vulnerable to climate change, as evidenced by numerous episodes of floods, droughts that have led to severe food shortages, food insecurity, water scarcity, and famine. In most regions, water use efficiency is quite poor, such that maximal benefits are not obtained from available resources. One of the most prominent consequences of climate change is the degradation and loss of freshwater resources. This has led to increased competition over diminishing water resources, dictating urgent need for increased investment in water management systems. Perhaps the biggest visible signs of climate change have been in increasing water scarcity in many parts of the country. many communities have become water deficient.
We came up with initiatives which were aimed at helping the farmers to attain this goal of being food secure at their household level. One initiative was to help the farmers in this area to conserve water through simple techniques, because the river, as we see, the Endau River, is the only source of river in Salabani area, but it's a seasonal river. It's not a permanent river.
Pelham Kenya, in conjunction with several organizations, have taken concrete steps to ensure available water resources are better utilized, while also increasing efforts to harvest available rainwater.
This is a community-centered organization and encouraging the teamwork and also professionalism.
Tulikaa chini kama tukaona tutengeneza maji kitu kama bwawa, ili mvua ikinyesha tusanye maji pale ndani. Mvua ikiisha, kiangazi kitokea, tumie hiyo maji.
A lot of water is lost through surface runoff and seepage from dammed areas. A sound water management strategy is central to ensuring sustained agricultural production and adequate water supply for domestic use.
Hapa tunatekea tu mvua. Hatuna mto nile ya Molo River na inateremka huko chini inaenda lake. Hii tunapata hapa ni ya Waseke Suko, inaenda Lake Bogoria. Kwa hivyo hapa katikati hatuna ile maji tunaweza kuweka mashamba.
Additionally, where access to irrigation is limited, a useful strategy would be to develop water conservation and rainwater harvesting systems to maximize on-farm water management. This has been the focus of several Pelham member organizations such as the Kitui Development Center. The Kitui Development Center is a community organization that seeks to promote various adaptation strategies for resource management, conservation planning, and in view of prevailing climate change effects. This organization has been instrumental in championing the development of earth dams, water ponds, sand dams, water weirs to enable efficient and maximal water harvesting.
In collaboration with Pelham, they gave us some money to construct or to see where we can do something to do with environment. And we came to this area. We trained the community on how they can construct some weirs along the river. And now they have completed one weir which is complete and another one which is halfway.
They are also conserving the area by constructing weirs along the seasonal rivers.
Area hii yetu, wacha tuseme ya kwamba mvua ni ya kubahatisha, because inaweza kuja na inyeshe mvua mingi sana and then it disappear for